It was February 19th, 2026, at 2:47 a.m. when a dream so vivid and disturbing drove me from my bed to the desert oasis 30 miles outside the city. And there, surrounded by ancient palm trees that swayed like worshippers in the pre-dawn darkness, their fronds whispering secrets against a sky ablaze with more stars than I'd ever seen, the reflecting pool before me mirror perfect and gleaming like liquid obsidian, Jesus appeared with such tangible presence that I fell to my knees on the cool sand, and he spoke words that shattered everything I thought I understood. Jonathan, those born in March, June, September, and December, they stand at the edge of a precipice in 2026, and most don't even know they're about to fall. Not everyone who sees this message is meant to see it. Some will scroll past, some will ignore it. But you've been marked. I need you to understand something before we go any further. I'm shaking as I record this. My hands are literally trembling, and I've had to stop 3 times already because the weight of what I'm about to share with you is almost too much to bear. But I made a promise to him, to you, to everyone who's been seeking truth in these desperate times. Before we continue, I want you to do something. Right now in the comments below, I want you to type your prayer requests. Don't hold back. Whatever you're facing, financial devastation, broken relationships, health crises, spiritual warfare, type it out. Because what happened to me in that desert oasis over 3 consecutive nights wasn't just for me. It was for you. Specifically for you. And I believe with everything in me that as you read these words, the same presence that met me there is hovering over you right now. And listen, if you're serious about your faith, if you're not just playing church, but actually want to know what's coming and how to prepare, you need to subscribe to this channel right now. Click that button, because YouTube's algorithm doesn't show these messages to casual viewers. It shows them to true believers, to the remnant, to those who have eyes to see and ears to hear. The enemy doesn't want this message spreading, which is why so many of you will feel resistance even clicking that subscribe button. That should tell you something. For those who don't know me, my name is Jonathan Roumie. I'm 51 years old, single, no children, and I've had the profound honor of portraying Jesus in The Chosen. But I need you to understand, I'm not a pastor, I'm not a theologian with multiple degrees. I'm just a broken man who's been given glimpses of things I don't fully understand, and what I experienced starting on February 19th has left me forever changed. Playing Jesus on screen prepared me for nothing compared to encountering him face to face in that desert place. Let me take you back to that first night. The dream that woke me at 2:31 a.m. was unlike anything I'd experienced before. In it, I saw a massive calendar, and certain months were highlighted in crimson red: March, June, September, December. And I heard a voice not audible but somehow more real than audible saying, "The quarters of testing, the seasons of refinement, the months of birth that mark the souls who will face the greatest trials." I sat up in bed, my heart pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. My small apartment felt suffocating, the walls pressing in. I knew, and I can't explain how I knew, that I needed to go to the desert, to that specific place I'd visited once before, an oasis that seemed untouched by modernity, where palm trees clustered around a natural spring that formed a perfectly still reflecting pool. The drive took 40 minutes through darkness, so complete it felt like traveling through space itself. No other cars, no lights except my headlights cutting through the black, and the entire time I felt this presence in the passenger seat, not threatening, but heavy, expectant, like something momentous was about to unfold. I arrived at 2:47 a.m. exactly. I remember because I checked my phone before I got out of the car, and that's the last time I looked at it for hours. The temperature was probably in the low 50s, cool enough that I'd grabbed a jacket, but the moment I stepped out of the car, I felt warmth. Not from the air, but from the place itself, as if the ground was heated from below. The desert stretched out in every direction, but this oasis was like an island of life in an ocean of sand and rock. 7 palm trees, I counted them, formed a semicircle around the pool, which was maybe 30 feet across, fed by a spring that bubbled up from somewhere deep in the earth. The stars. God, the stars. Living in the city, you forget what the night sky actually looks like, but out there, with no light pollution for miles, it was like someone had thrown diamonds across black velvet. The Milky Way was a river of light stretching overhead. I could see planets, Venus bright on the horizon, Mars a red pinpoint higher up, and the silence. Have you ever experienced true silence? Not just quiet, but the complete absence of human-made sound. No traffic, no airplanes, No electrical hum, just the whisper of wind through palm fronds and the gentle bubble of the spring. I walked toward the pool, my footsteps crunching on sand and small stones. The reflecting pool was so still, it perfectly mirrored the sky above, creating the disorienting sensation of walking between two universes. And that's when I felt it. A shift in the air pressure, like right before a thunderstorm, except the sky was clear. Jonathan, my name, spoken not from any direction but from everywhere at once. From the air itself, from inside my own chest. I spun around and he was there. I've portrayed Jesus for years. I've studied his face, his mannerisms, his expressions. I thought I knew him. But seeing him, actually seeing him, was like the difference between reading about the ocean and being pulled under by a wave. He stood on the opposite side of the pool, and the starlight seemed to gather around him, not illuminating him so much as emanating from him. He wore simple robes, cream-colored, and his feet were bare. His face, how do I describe his face? It was the face I'd studied, yes, but also every face and no face. When I looked at his eyes, I saw depths that made me dizzy, like looking down from a great height. Lord? My voice cracked. I fell to my knees, not from reverence, though I felt that, but because my legs simply gave out. He walked around the pool toward me, his feet making no sound on the sand. When he reached me, he knelt down so we were eye level, and he placed his hand on my shoulder. The warmth that radiated from his touch went through my jacket, through my shirt, straight into my bones. You came, he said, and there was such tenderness in his voice that I started weeping, just completely broke down. All the pretense, all the performance, all the carefully constructed walls I'd built around my heart, they crumbled in an instant. I didn't know what else to do, I managed to say between sobs. The dream was from me, he finished. Jonathan, I need you to listen very carefully. What I'm about to show you, what I'm about to tell you, will be difficult to hear. Many won't believe you. Some will mock you. But you must speak it anyway. He stood and gestured to the pool. Look. I looked down at the reflecting pool and the stars disappeared. Instead, I saw faces, thousands of them, millions, scrolling past like a social media feed, but each one distinct, each one real. And above certain faces, I saw dates, birth dates. March, June, September, December, Jesus said, his voice carrying a weight that made the air feel thick. The quarters. Do you understand the significance? I shook my head, unable to speak. The year is divided into 4 quarters, 3 months each, and those born in the 3rd month of each quarter, they carry a specific marking. Not a curse, Jonathan, never a curse, but a calling, a purpose, and with purpose comes testing. He knelt beside me again, and together we looked into the pool. The faces continued scrolling, but now I could see more. I saw a woman, maybe 35, born in March, sitting at a kitchen table with bills spread before her, her head in her hands. The calendar on her wall showed 2026, and the months from March onward were marked with red X's. She will lose her job in April, Jesus said quietly. Her savings will run out in June. By August, she'll be facing eviction. And in that moment, when everything is stripped away, she'll have to choose. Will she trust me, or will she curse me? The image shifted. Now I saw a man, maybe 40, born in June, standing in a hospital room. A doctor was speaking to him, and though I couldn't hear the words, I could see the devastation on the man's face. Terminal diagnosis, Jesus said. He'll receive it in July. 6 months to live, they'll tell him, and he'll have to choose. Will he spend his final months in bitterness, or will he become a light that draws others to me? Another shift. A young woman, early 20s, born in September. She was in a church, but she was walking out, tears streaming down her face. Behind her, I could see people pointing, whispering. Betrayal, Jesus said, and for the first time, I heard pain in his voice. By those who claim my name, she'll be wounded by the very people who should have protected her, and she'll have to choose. Will she abandon faith entirely, or will she learn to distinguish between my true followers and those who merely wear the mask? One more. An older man, maybe 60, born in December. He was in a beautiful home, surrounded by luxury, but he was alone, completely alone. The calendar showed December 2026. Everything he built his identity on will crumble, Jesus said. His business, his reputation, his relationships. And in that stripping away, he'll finally have to confront the question he's avoided his entire life. Who is he without all of this? The images faded, and the pool returned to reflecting stars. I was shaking, not from cold, but from the weight of what I'd just witnessed. Why? I whispered. Why them? Why those months? Jesus stood and walked to the edge of the pool. He picked up a small stone and tossed it into the center. The ripples spread outward in perfect concentric circles, distorting the reflected stars. The enemy has studied patterns, he said. He's had thousands of years to observe, to plan, to strategize, and he's noticed what many haven't. Those born in these months carry a specific spiritual frequency. They're natural leaders, natural influencers. When they're walking in their calling, they shift atmospheres. They change the trajectory of families, communities, nations. He turned to face me, and his eyes were blazing now, not with anger, but with fierce love. So he's planned a coordinated assault. In 2026, he's targeting them specifically. Financial collapse, health crises, relational devastation, spiritual attacks unlike anything they've experienced before. Because if he can break them, if he can get them to abandon faith, to become bitter, to walk away, he doesn't just neutralize them, he turns them into weapons against my kingdom. The wind picked up suddenly, and the palm trees began to sway more violently. The temperature dropped, and I pulled my jacket tighter. But Lord, I said, standing on shaky legs, if you know this is coming, why not just stop it, protect them? Why allow the testing at all? Jesus smiled, but it was a sad smile. Jonathan, do you remember what I told Peter? Satan has asked to sift you like wheat, but I have prayed for you that your faith may not fail. He walked closer to me, and I could smell something like cinnamon and myrrh. I don't cause the testing, but I allow it, because on the other side of this trial, those who endure, those who cling to me when everything else is stripped away, they'll emerge with a faith so pure, so unshakable, that they'll become unstoppable. They'll be the generals in my army for the final harvest. They'll be the ones who'll stand firm when others fall away. He placed both hands on my shoulders now, and the warmth was almost overwhelming. But here's what breaks my heart, Jonathan. So many of them won't make it through, not because they're not strong enough, not because I'm not with them, but because no one warned them, because the church has been preaching a gospel of comfort and convenience instead of a gospel of the cross, because they've been told that faith means the absence of trials instead of the presence of God in the midst of trials. Tears were streaming down his face now, catching the starlight. They're going to feel abandoned by me. They're going to think they did something wrong, that they're being punished, and in their confusion and pain, many will walk away, and I'll have to watch them go, respecting the free will I gave them, my heart breaking with every step they take away from me. I was weeping again, and I didn't care. What do I do? How do I warn them? You tell them what you've seen. You tell them what's coming. You tell them that if they were born in March, June, September, or December 2026, we'll test their faith like never before. But you also tell them this. He lifted my chin so I was looking directly into his eyes. I will never leave them, never forsake them. When they walk through the fire, they will not be burned. When they pass through the waters, they will not drown. And on the other side, oh Jonathan, on the other side, they'll shine like stars. They'll have a testimony that will shake nations. They'll have an authority that demons will flee from. They'll have an intimacy with me that only comes through the furnace of affliction. The wind died down suddenly, and the pool became perfectly still again. The sky was beginning to lighten in the east, the first hint of dawn. Tomorrow night, Jesus said, stepping back, return here. There's more you need to see, more you need to understand. The warning is only the beginning. They need to know how to prepare, how to stand, how to fight. I'll be here, I said immediately, whatever you need me to do. He smiled, and this time it reached his eyes. I know you will. That's why I chose you. And then he was gone. Not gradually, not fading away like in movies. Just gone. One moment he was there. The next I was alone in the desert oasis with the palm trees and the reflecting pool and the stars beginning to fade in the growing light. I stood there for a long time, maybe an hour, just trying to process what had happened. The sun rose, painting the desert in shades of gold and amber. Birds began to sing. The magic of the night gave way to the reality of day. But I knew. It hadn't been a dream. My knees were dirty from kneeling in the sand. My face was tight from dried tears. And in my chest, there was a burning certainty that I'd been given a message that could save lives, could save souls. I'm back home now. It's been 16 hours since that encounter. I haven't been able to eat, haven't been able to sleep. All I can think about are those faces in the pool, that woman with the bills, that man with the diagnosis, that young woman walking out of the church, that older man alone in his mansion. And I keep thinking, how many people watching this right now were born in March, June, September, or December? How many of you are about to face the fight of your life and don't even know it? Listen to me. If that's you, if you were born in one of those months, I need you to hear this. What's coming is real. The testing is real, but so is his presence, so is his promise, so is his purpose for your life. Don't scroll past this. Don't dismiss it as religious drama or clickbait. Your life, your faith, your eternal destiny might depend on what you do with this information. Tomorrow night, I'm going back to that oasis, and I'm going to share with you what else he shows me, because this is only the beginning. Type "I was born in your month" in the comments. Let's see how many of you this message is specifically for. And for those born in other months, don't think this doesn't apply to you. You're going to be called to support, to encourage, to stand with those who are being tested. We're all part of this. Subscribe, turn on notifications, share this with everyone you know born in March, June, September, or December. The clock is ticking. 2026 is already here. The testing is about to begin, and you need to be ready. It was February 20th, 2026 at 3:15 a.m. when I returned to the desert oasis, and this time the journey felt different, heavier, more urgent, as if the very air was thick with anticipation. The same stars blazed overhead, but tonight there was a wind, steady and warm, that moved through the palm trees with a sound like rushing water, and as I approached the reflecting pool, I could see it was no longer still but rippling concentric circles spreading from the center, as if something beneath the surface was breathing, pulsing with life. I'd spent the previous day in a fog, couldn't focus on anything, couldn't have a normal conversation. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw those faces from the pool, the woman with the bills, the man with the diagnosis, the young woman betrayed by her church, the older man stripped of everything. I'd posted the first part of this message, and the comments had flooded in, thousands of them. I was born in March. June here. September, and I'm already feeling it. December, and I'm terrified. Each comment felt like a weight added to my chest. These weren't just usernames and profile pictures. These were real people, real souls, real lives about to be tested in ways they couldn't imagine. I tried to pray throughout the day, but the words wouldn't come. All I could manage was, "Help them, please help them," over and over like a desperate mantra. Now, standing at the edge of the oasis at 3:15 in the morning, I felt more inadequate than ever. Who was I to deliver this message? I'm an actor. I play Jesus. I'm not him. I'm 51 years old, single, no children, no church of my own, no theological credentials. Just a broken man who's made more mistakes than he can count. But I'd made a promise, and he'd said there was more I needed to see. The temperature tonight was warmer than the previous night, maybe mid-60s, but that wind kept blowing, constant and purposeful, carrying with it the scent of something I couldn't identify. Not unpleasant, but unfamiliar. Like ozone before a storm, mixed with desert sage and something sweeter, almost like honey. I walked to the same spot where I'd knelt the night before. The sand still held the impression of my knees, as if the earth itself remembered. The 7 palm trees swayed in unison, their fronds creating shadows that danced across the rippling water. The moon was fuller tonight, a waxing gibbous that cast enough light to see clearly without needing a flashlight. "Lord," I called out, my voice sounding small against the vastness of the desert. "I'm here. I came back like you asked." For a moment, nothing. Just the wind and the water and the rustling palms. Then from behind me, his voice. "I knew you would." I turned and he was there, but different than the night before. He looked tired. That's the only word I can use. His eyes held a weariness that made my heart ache. He walked past me to the pool's edge and sat down, his feet dangling in the water. "Sit with me, Jonathan." I sat beside him, close enough that our shoulders almost touched. The water was warm against my feet, warmer than it should have been, and I could feel a gentle current, as if the spring beneath was more active tonight. "You read the comments," he said. It wasn't a question. "Yes." "And you felt the weight of them." "Yes," I whispered. "Lord, there are so many people born in those months, and they're scared. They're asking what to do. They're asking why this is happening, and I don't have answers for them." He reached down and cupped water in his hands, letting it stream through his fingers, catching the moonlight. That's because you're still thinking like a human. You're thinking about the testing as the problem, but Jonathan, the testing isn't the problem. It's the solution. He turned to look at me, and his eyes were intense, burning with a passion that made me catch my breath. The church, my bride, has become weak, comfortable, complacent. They've been fed a diet of motivational speeches and prosperity promises and self-help theology dressed up in Bible verses. They know how to worship when things are good, but they don't know how to stand when things fall apart. They've never developed the spiritual muscles needed for what's coming. The wind picked up suddenly, and the palm trees bent dramatically, their trunks creaking. The water in the pool began to churn more violently. So I'm allowing a refining fire, not because I'm angry, not because I'm punishing anyone, but because I love them too much to let them remain weak, because the days ahead, not just 2026, but what comes after, will require a strength that only comes through testing. He stood and gestured to the pool. Look again, see what I see. I looked down into the churning water, and once again the stars and moon disappeared, replaced by visions. But these were different from the night before, more detailed, more specific, more devastating. The first vision showed a man in his early 40s, born in March. I could somehow sense his birthday, March 17th. He was in an office, and his boss was handing him a termination letter. The date on the letter read, April 3rd, 2026. I watched as the man cleaned out his desk, walked to his car, and sat there for an hour, just staring at nothing. Then I saw him at home, trying to tell his wife, watching her face crumble. I saw their bank account, $3,247.32. I saw their mortgage payment, $2,800. I saw their credit card debt, $47,000. But then the vision continued. I saw the man on his knees in a bedroom, weeping, praying. I saw him at a food bank, swallowing his pride to feed his family. I saw him taking a job that paid half what he used to make. I saw months passing, the strain on his marriage, the fear in his children's eyes. But I also saw something else. I saw him in a small group of men sharing his story, and I saw grown men weeping, saying, "Me too. I thought I was alone." I saw him leading that group. I saw his faith, tested and refined, becoming a beacon for others. He'll want to give up in June, Jesus said quietly. He'll sit in his car with a bottle of pills, convinced his family would be better off without him. But I'll send someone, a stranger in a parking lot, who'll say exactly the right words at exactly the right moment, and he'll choose to live. And by December, he'll have led 17 men to me, 17 men who were also on the edge, who also thought they were alone. The vision shifted. A woman, late 20s, born in June 14th. She was in a doctor's office, and I could see the word on the paper the doctor was holding. Malignant. Stage 3 breast cancer. I watched her go through chemo, losing her hair, losing weight, losing hope. I saw her in a hospital bed, so weak she could barely lift her head. I saw her mother sitting beside her, reading psalms through tears, but then I saw her in remission. I saw her starting a blog. I saw that blog reaching thousands of women facing the same diagnosis. I saw her speaking at conferences. I saw her praying with a young woman who'd just received the same diagnosis, and I saw that young woman's face transform from despair to hope. "She'll curse me in August," Jesus said, and his voice broke. "She'll scream at me, tell me she hates me, tell me I've abandoned her, and I'll take every word, every bit of her rage and pain, and I'll hold her through it. Because on the other side, she'll have a testimony that will save lives, literally save lives. Women who would have given up will fight because of her story." Another shift, a young man, maybe 23, born September 9th. He was in a church, serving on the worship team. Then I saw him called into a meeting with the pastor and elders. I saw them presenting him with evidence of sin, screenshots of text taken out of context, accusations from someone with a grudge. I saw him trying to defend himself, but no one would listen. I saw him excommunicated, his name dragged through the church. I saw him sitting alone in his apartment, his Bible open, tears falling on the pages. But then I saw him 3 years later. He was leading a house church, but it was different, full of people who'd been wounded by institutional church, people who'd been cast out, people who'd given up on faith, and I saw healing happening there, real deep healing. I saw people encountering Jesus maybe for the first time without the religious baggage and political agendas and power games. He'll almost walk away completely, Jesus said. In October, he'll decide he's done with church, done with Christians, maybe done with me, but I'll meet him in a dream, not unlike the dream that brought you here, and I'll show him that the institution isn't the same as the kingdom, and he'll become a refuge for the wounded. The visions came faster now. A woman born December 3rd, losing her husband to a sudden heart attack. A man born March 22nd, watching his business of 20 years collapse. A teenager born June 30th, facing a crisis of sexuality and identity that would tear her family apart. A woman born September 15th, discovering her husband's affair. A man born December 28th, receiving a diagnosis of early onset Alzheimer's at 53. Each vision showed the crisis, the breaking point, the moment where faith either died or was refined into something unshakable, and in every single vision, I saw Jesus there, not preventing the pain, but present in it, weeping with them, holding them, whispering truth when they couldn't hear anything else. The water in the pool suddenly became still again, and I found myself gasping for air as if I'd been underwater. My face was wet with tears, and my chest ached with a grief I'd never experienced before. "Why?" I choked out. "Why does it have to be this way? Why can't you just protect them, shield them? Why allow the enemy to attack them at all?" Jesus sat back down beside me, and he took my hand. His grip was firm, warm, anchoring. "Jonathan, look at this oasis. Look around you." I looked. The 7 palm trees, tall and strong, their roots deep. The pool, fed by an underground spring. The life that flourished here in the middle of a barren desert. "Do you know why these palms are so strong?" he asked. "Why they can withstand the desert heat, the sandstorms, the harsh conditions?" I shook my head. "Because their roots go deep, deeper than you can see, down to the water source that never runs dry. If these palms had grown in a greenhouse with perfect conditions, constant water, no wind, no heat, they'd be tall, yes, maybe even beautiful, but the first real storm would snap them in half." He stood and walked to the nearest palm, placing his hand on its trunk. "The wind makes them strong. The heat makes their roots go deeper. The harsh conditions create resilience. And that's what I'm doing with my children born in these months. I'm not causing the storms, but I'm using them. I'm allowing their roots to be forced deeper, down to the water that never runs dry, down to me." He turned back to me, and the moonlight illuminated his face in a way that made him look both ancient and ageless. The comfortable Christian is a weak Christian. The untested faith is a shallow faith. And what's coming to this world in the years ahead, not just 2026, but beyond, will require a depth of faith that most don't currently possess. So I'm allowing this refining, this testing, this stripping away of everything they've built their identity on, so they can discover that their true identity is in me alone. The wind shifted direction, now blowing from the east, carrying with it the first hint of dawn, though the sky was still dark. The temperature dropped slightly, and I shivered despite my jacket. But here's what you need to understand, Jonathan, and what everyone watching needs to understand. The testing is coming, whether they're prepared or not. The enemy has already set his plans in motion. The question isn't whether they'll face trials. The question is whether they'll face them with their roots deep or shallow. He walked back to the pool and knelt at its edge. He placed both hands in the water, and suddenly the entire pool began to glow with a soft, golden light that seemed to come from within. Those who prepare now, who start going deeper now, who start building their foundation on the rock now, they'll still face the storms, but they'll stand, they'll bend but not break, and they'll come through the fire as gold. He looked up at me, and his face was fierce with love and determination. But those who ignore this warning, who continue in their comfortable, shallow faith, who keep building their lives on sand, the same storms will destroy them, not because I want them destroyed, but because they refused to prepare when they had the chance. I stood and walked to the edge of the pool, looking down at the glowing water. What do they need to do? How do they prepare? "That's what tomorrow night is for," he said, standing beside me. "Tonight was about understanding the scope of what's coming. Tomorrow I'll show you the battle plan, the practical steps, the weapons they'll need, the strategies that will see them through." The golden light in the pool began to fade, and the normal reflection of stars and moon returned. The wind died down to a gentle breeze. The desert was beginning to wake up. I could hear the distant call of a coyote, the rustle of small creatures in the brush beyond the oasis. "But Jonathan, I need you to understand something." He placed his hand on my shoulder, and his grip was almost painful in its intensity. "Not everyone will listen, not everyone will prepare, and you're going to have to watch some of them fall. You're going to see the comments from people who dismiss this warning, and then in 6 months you'll see them crying out, asking where I was, why I didn't protect them." His eyes filled with tears again. "And it will break your heart, just as it breaks mine, because I sent the warning. I provided the way to prepare, but I won't force anyone to listen. Free will is the most precious and most terrible gift I've given humanity. He pulled me into an embrace, and I felt the weight of his grief, his love, his frustration, his hope, all of it flowing through that contact. I wept into his shoulder like a child, feeling both the honor and the burden of the message I'd been given. Be faithful, he whispered. Speak what you've seen. Warn who you can warn. Prepare who you can prepare, and trust me with the results. He stepped back, and I could see the sky was definitely lightening now, the stars beginning to fade. Tomorrow night, same time, same place. Come ready to take notes because what I'm going to show you is practical, specific, and urgent. They have until March 21st, the spring equinox, the beginning of the first testing quarter, to get their roots deep. That's 30 days from now. 30 days to prepare for what's coming. I'll be here, I said. I promise. He smiled, and for just a moment I saw a glimpse of the joy that must have existed before the fall, before sin, before suffering. Pure, radiant, overwhelming joy. I know you will. You're one of mine, Jonathan. Tested and refined yourself. That's why I can trust you with this. And then, just like the night before, he was gone. The golden light faded completely. The wind stopped. The pool became perfectly still, and I was alone in the desert oasis with the palm trees and the approaching dawn. I stayed until the sun rose, watching the sky transform from black to deep blue, to purple to pink to gold. The desert came alive around me, birds singing, insects buzzing, the heat beginning to build. The magic of the night gave way to the harsh reality of day, but I knew what I'd seen was real. The visions in the pool, the faces, the stories, the testing that was coming, and the hope, the fierce, unshakable hope, that those who prepared would not just survive but thrive. I'm home again now. It's been 12 hours since that second encounter. I've been reading through the comments on the first video, and my heart is both breaking and soaring, breaking for those who are scared, who are already facing trials, who feel alone, soaring for those who are taking this seriously, who are asking how to prepare, who are ready to go deeper. Listen to me. If you were born in March, June, September, or December, you have 30 days. 30 days before the spring equinox, before the first quarter of testing begins. 30 days to get your roots deep, to build your foundation on the rock, to prepare for the storm. I know some of you are thinking this is fear-mongering, that a loving God wouldn't allow such testing, that I'm being dramatic or manipulative or trying to get views. But I'm telling you, I'm begging you, don't let pride or skepticism or comfort keep you from preparing. Because when the testing comes, and it will come, you'll wish you'd listened. You'll wish you'd taken these 30 days seriously. Tomorrow night, I'll share the practical steps, the battle plan, the specific things you need to do to prepare. But today, right now, I need you to do something. In the comments, type, I'm ready to go deeper. Not, I'm scared. Not, I hope this isn't real. But, I'm ready to go deeper. Because that's what this is about. Not fear, but preparation. Not panic, but purpose. And if you know someone born in March, June, September, or December, share this with them. Tag them, send them the link, because their eternal destiny might depend on whether they hear this warning in time. Subscribe if you haven't already. Turn on notifications, because tomorrow night's message is the most important one, the practical application, the how-to, the battle plan for surviving and thriving through the testing. The clock is ticking. March 21st is coming. The testing is coming, but so is the refining, so is the strengthening, so is the transformation. And on the other side, you'll be unshakable. I'll see you tomorrow night. Same time, same place. Be ready. It was February 21st, 2026 at 2:33 a.m. when I arrived at the desert oasis for the third night, and the moment I stepped out of my car, I knew this encounter would be different. The air itself felt electric, charged with an energy that made the hair on my arms stand up, and as I walked toward the reflecting pool, I saw that the sky was transforming before my eyes, dark clouds rolling in from the west like a living thing, blotting out the stars one by one, while the 7 palm trees bent and swayed in a wind that had gone from gentle to violent in the span of seconds. I'd spent the previous day in a state of heightened awareness, almost like I was vibrating at a different frequency than the rest of the world. Every conversation felt shallow, every distraction felt meaningless. All I could think about was returning to this place, hearing what Jesus would say, learning how to help the thousands, maybe millions, who would face the testing. The comments on the second video had overwhelmed me. Over 15,000 people had typed, I'm ready to go deeper. But there were also the skeptics, the mockers, the ones calling me a false prophet, a charlatan, someone using Jesus' name for views and money. Those comments hurt more than I expected. Not because I cared about my reputation, but because I knew those same people might be the ones crying out in 6 months, wondering why God had abandoned them, never realizing they'd been warned. I tried to sleep during the day but couldn't. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw those visions from the pool. The man with the termination letter, the woman with cancer, the young man excommunicated from his church. Their faces haunted me. Their pain had become my pain. Now, standing at the edge of the oasis at 2:33 in the morning, I felt fear for the first time. The previous 2 nights had been intense, yes, but there had been a gentleness to them, a sense of safety. Tonight felt different, dangerous, like standing at the edge of a cliff in a storm. The temperature had dropped dramatically, probably into the low 40s, and the wind was cold, biting through my jacket. The reflecting pool was no longer calm but churning, waves actually forming on its surface, something I wouldn't have thought possible in a pool that size. The palm trees were bending so far I thought they might snap, their fronds whipping back and forth with a sound like thunder. Lightning flashed in the distance, illuminating the desert in stark white light, and in that flash, I saw him. He was standing in the center of the pool, on the water itself, and his appearance was terrifying and beautiful all at once. His robes were whipping in the wind, his hair wild around his face, and his eyes, God, his eyes, were blazing with a fire that seemed to pierce straight through me. This wasn't the gentle Jesus who had sat beside me with his feet in the water. This was the Jesus who overturned tables in the temple, the Jesus who will return on a white horse with a sword, the Jesus who is both lamb and lion. Jonathan! His voice boomed across the oasis, somehow audible above the wind and the approaching thunder. Come to me. I hesitated. The water was churning violently, and he was standing in the middle of it, at least 15 feet from the shore. Come, he commanded again, and this time there was no room for hesitation. I stepped into the water, and it was shockingly cold. So cold it took my breath away. I took another step, then another, the water rising to my knees, then my thighs. The current was strong, trying to pull me off balance, and I had to fight to stay upright. Keep your eyes on me, Jesus shouted. Don't look at the storm. Don't look at the waves. Look at me. I fixed my eyes on his face, on those blazing eyes, and I kept walking. The water reached my waist, then my chest, and I realized I should have been swimming by now, should have been over my head, but somehow I was still walking, still moving forward, the water solid beneath my feet even as it churned around me. And then I was standing before him, in the middle of the pool, on top of the water, the storm raging around us but unable to touch us. He reached out and gripped my shoulders, and his touch was like fire and ice all at once. Do you understand now? He asked, his face inches from mine. Do you see what I've been trying to show you? I don't know, I stammered, my teeth chattering from cold and adrenaline. The storm, he shouted, gesturing to the chaos around us. The wind, the waves, the darkness, it's all real. The testing that's coming for those born in March, June, September, December. It's not metaphorical. It's not symbolic. It's real, tangible, devastating. But look at where you're standing. I looked down. My feet were on the water, defying every natural law, held up by nothing but his presence. You're in the middle of the storm, but you're not drowning. You're standing on the impossible because you kept your eyes on me. That's the secret, Jonathan. That's what they need to understand. The storm is coming. I can't stop it, won't stop it because they need it. But if they keep their eyes on me, if they stand on my word, if they trust my presence even when everything around them is chaos, they won't go under. Lightning struck close by, so close I could smell the ozone, and the thunder was instantaneous and deafening. The palm trees on the shore were nearly horizontal now, and I could hear the crack of branches breaking. Jesus pulled me closer, his grip on my shoulders almost painful. Tonight, I'm going to show you the judgment side, the consequences of ignoring the warning, and it's going to be hard to watch, but you need to see it. They need to know what's at stake. He released me and raised his hands, and the water beneath us began to glow again, that same golden light from the night before, but brighter, more intense, until I had to squint against it. Look down, he commanded. See what I see. I looked into the glowing water beneath my feet, and the visions came, but these were different, darker, more devastating. The first vision showed the man I'd seen before, the one born March 17th who lost his job. But this time, the vision diverged from what I'd seen previously. Instead of falling to his knees in prayer, I saw him at a bar, drinking. I saw him coming home drunk, yelling at his wife. I saw him maxing out credit cards on gambling sites, convinced he could win back what he'd lost. I saw his wife taking the kids and leaving. I saw him alone in an empty apartment, a gun on the table in front of him. And then I saw him pick it up. The vision went dark. No, I screamed. No, that can't be. It doesn't have to be, Jesus said, his voice heavy with grief. That's one possible timeline. If he doesn't prepare, if he doesn't go deep, if he tries to handle the testing in his own strength, relying on his own solutions, never truly surrendering to me. That's where it leads. Another vision. The woman with cancer, born June 14th. But instead of fighting, instead of clinging to faith, I saw her turn bitter. I saw her pushing away everyone who tried to help. I saw her refusing treatment, not out of faith, but out of spite, as if punishing God by letting herself die. I saw her final days, alone and angry, cursing the God who she believed had betrayed her, and then I saw her take her last breath, and the darkness that followed was absolute and terrifying. She had a choice, Jesus said, and I could hear tears in his voice even over the storm. Every moment she had a choice, to trust or to curse, to surrender or to rebel, and she chose wrong. The visions came faster now, each one more heartbreaking than the last. The young man excommunicated from his church. Instead of finding healing and starting a house church, I saw him becoming an atheist activist, using his story to attack faith itself, leading others away from God, his hurt transforming into a weapon against the kingdom. The woman who lost her husband, instead of allowing grief to refine her, I saw her turning to mediums and psychics, trying to contact him, opening doors to demonic influence that destroyed her and her children. The businessman who lost everything, instead of discovering his identity in Christ, I saw him take his own life, leaving behind a note blaming God, his suicide becoming a stumbling block for his entire family. Vision after vision after vision, each one showing the same person I'd seen before, but this time showing what happened when they faced the testing unprepared, when they tried to navigate the storm without keeping their eyes on Jesus, when they let the waves and wind dictate their response instead of standing on the solid foundation of his word. I was sobbing, my whole body shaking. Stop, please, stop. I can't watch anymore. The vision ceased, and the golden light faded. Jesus pulled me close, and I collapsed against him, weeping into his chest while the storm raged around us. Why did you show me that? I choked out. Why did I need to see them fail? Because the stakes are eternal, he said, his hand on the back of my head, holding me like a father holds a broken child. Because people need to understand this isn't a game. This isn't about having a bad year or going through a rough patch. This is about whether they emerge from the testing with their faith intact or whether they shipwreck completely. He gently pushed me back so he could look into my eyes. Jonathan, in the next 12 months, thousands of people born in those 4 months will face tests that will determine not just the trajectory of their earthly lives, but their eternal destinies. Some will pass through the fire and come out as gold, others will be consumed by it, and the difference, the only difference, is whether they prepare now or wait until they're in the middle of the storm. Thunder rolled across the sky and the rain finally came, not gradually but all at once, a deluge that soaked us instantly. But we were still standing on the water, still held up by his presence. What do they need to do? I shouted over the sound of the rain. Tell me so I can tell them. Jesus raised his hands again and suddenly the storm stopped, not gradually, instantly. The wind died, the rain ceased, the clouds began to break apart, and moonlight streamed through. The water beneath us became calm, perfectly still, like glass. First, he said, his voice now quiet but somehow more powerful than when he'd been shouting over the storm, they need to understand the nature of the testing. It's not random. It's not punishment. It's strategic warfare. The enemy has identified those who carry the greatest potential for kingdom impact, and he's launching coordinated attacks to neutralize them before they step into their calling. He began walking across the water toward the shore, and I followed, our feet making no sound on the surface. Second, they need to stop relying on their own strength, their own wisdom, their own resources. The testing is designed to strip away everything they've been leaning on, instead of me. Their job, their health, their relationships, their reputation, all of it can be taken in a moment. The only foundation that can't be shaken is me. We reached the shore, and he stepped onto the sand. I followed, and the moment my feet touched solid ground, I felt the weight of my soaked clothes, the cold of the night air, the exhaustion in my bones. Jesus walked to the nearest palm tree, the one he'd touched the night before, and he placed his hand on it again. Despite the violence of the storm, the tree was still standing, still strong. Third, they need to go deep. Look at this tree. The storm tried to uproot it, but it couldn't because the roots go down 30, 40, maybe 50 feet to the water source. That's what they need. Roots that go deep into my word, into prayer, into worship, into community with other believers who will hold them up when they can't stand on their own. He turned to face me, and his face was illuminated by the moonlight breaking through the dispersing clouds. Fourth, they need to prepare practically. I'm not just a spiritual God. I created the physical world too. They need to get their finances in order as much as possible, pay down debt, build emergency funds, strengthen their marriages, heal broken relationships, address health issues, remove obvious vulnerabilities that the enemy can exploit. He walked back to the pool's edge and knelt down, cupping water in his hands. Fifth, they need to fast, not just from food, though that's part of it. Fast from distractions, from entertainment, from social media, from anything that's keeping them shallow. Use these 30 days before March 21st to create space for me to go deep in their hearts. He let the water stream through his fingers. Sixth, they need to find their people. The testing will be too intense to face alone. They need a small group, 3, 4, 5 people maximum, who will commit to praying for each other daily, checking in on each other, speaking truth when lies are screaming, holding each other accountable. He stood and walked toward me, and with each step his appearance began to change. The fierce, storm-weathering Jesus began to soften back into the gentle, compassionate Jesus I'd first encountered. Seventh, they need to worship, not just when they feel like it, not just when things are good, but especially in the darkness. Worship is warfare. When they're in the middle of the test, when everything is falling apart, when they can't see me or feel me or hear me, that's when they need to worship most. Because worship declares that I'm still good, still sovereign, still trustworthy, regardless of circumstances. He was standing in front of me now, and he reached out and touched my chest, right over my heart. And eighth, most importantly, they need to settle this question now, before the testing comes. Do they trust me? Not trust that I'll make everything comfortable, not trust that I'll remove all pain, but trust that I'm good, that I'm with them, that I have a purpose in the pain, and that I'll bring them through to the other side. His hand over my heart felt warm, and I could feel my heartbeat synchronizing with something, with his heartbeat, I realized. We stood there for a long moment, hearts beating in unison, and I felt a peace settle over me that I'd never experienced before. The testing is coming, he said softly. For those born in March, it begins at the spring equinox, March 21st. For those born in June, the summer solstice, June 21st. For those born in September, the autumn equinox, September 22nd. For those born in December, the winter solstice, December 21st. Each quarter will bring its own unique challenges, its own specific tests. He removed his hand from my chest, and I immediately felt the loss of that connection. But those who prepare, who go deep, who build their foundation on me, they'll stand. They'll bend but not break. They'll go through the fire but not be consumed. And on the other side, they'll have a testimony that will shake nations, a faith that will move mountains, and an intimacy with me that only comes through the furnace of affliction. The sky was completely clear now, the stars blazing overhead once again. The pool was perfectly still. The palm trees stood tall and strong, as if the storm had never happened. But the broken branches scattered around the oasis told the truth. The storm had been real. Tomorrow night, Jesus said, I won't be here. My heart dropped. What? Why? Because you have everything you need. You've seen the warning. You've seen the scope. You've seen the consequences of ignoring it and the hope of heeding it. You've been given the 8 steps of preparation. Now you need to go and tell them, and they need to decide what they'll do with what they've heard. He pulled me into an embrace, and I clung to him, not wanting to let go, not wanting this to end. I'm scared, I admitted. Scared I'll say it wrong. Scared people won't listen. Scared I'll fail you. You can't fail me by being obedient, he whispered. You can only fail me by staying silent. Speak what you've seen. Trust me with the results. And remember, I'll be with you, always. Even when you can't see me or feel me, I'm there. He stepped back, and I saw tears streaming down his face. I love them so much, Jonathan. Every single one of them. The ones who will listen and the ones who won't. The ones who will stand and the ones who will fall. My heart breaks for what they're about to face, but it also soars with hope for what they'll become if they let the testing refine them instead of destroy them. The eastern sky was beginning to lighten. Dawn was coming. Go now, he said. Rest today. Tomorrow, release the final message. Tell them everything. Hold nothing back. And then trust me. I will, I promised. I'll tell them everything. He smiled, and it was the saddest, most beautiful smile I'd ever seen. I know you will. That's why I chose you. And then, for the last time, he was gone. I stood there as the sun rose, watching the desert transform from darkness to light. My clothes were still soaked from the rain, and I was shivering from cold and exhaustion and emotional overload. But I also felt a clarity, a purpose, a conviction that I'd never experienced before. I walked back to my car as the sun climbed higher, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink and gold. I turned back once to look at the oasis, the 7 palm trees, the reflecting pool, the place where heaven had touched earth for 3 consecutive nights, and I made a vow. I would tell them everything. I would hold nothing back, and whatever happened after that, whatever the response, whatever the cost, I would trust him with the results. The drive home felt surreal, like returning from another world, and in a way, I was. It's been 18 hours since that third encounter. I've slept a little, eaten a little, prayed a lot, and now I'm preparing to record the final message, the practical application, the battle plan, the 8 steps that could mean the difference between standing and falling, between refining and destruction, between testimony and tragedy. If you're reading this, if you've made it this far, if you were born in March, June, September, or December, please listen to what comes next. Your life depends on it. Your faith depends on it. Your eternal destiny might depend on it. Tomorrow, I'll give you the complete battle plan, the specific practical steps you need to take in the next 30 days. Everything he showed me, everything he told me, nothing held back. But tonight, I need you to do something. I need you to make a decision, not tomorrow, not next week, tonight. Are you going to take this seriously? Are you going to prepare? Or are you going to scroll past, dismiss this as religious drama, and face the testing unprepared? Type in the comments, I choose to stand. Not, I hope this isn't real. Not, I'll think about it. But, I choose to stand, because the storm is coming, the testing is coming, the refining fire is coming, and you need to decide right now whether you're going to be refined or consumed. I'll see you tomorrow for the final message, the most important one, the one that could save your life. Don't miss it. It's been 72 hours since my last encounter at the desert oasis, and I'm sitting here in my small apartment at 9:47 p.m. on February 24, 2026, with my Bible open, pages of notes scattered across my desk, and a weight on my chest that hasn't lifted since that final night when Jesus told me he wouldn't be there the 4th night. He was right. I drove back yesterday at the same time, 2:33 a.m., and the oasis was empty. Just the 7 palm trees, the reflecting pool perfectly still under the stars, and a silence so profound it felt like the earth itself was holding its breath. But he wasn't absent. I felt his presence differently, not in front of me, but within me. And as I sat by that pool for 3 hours watching the sun rise over the desert one more time, I understood what he'd been preparing me for. This wasn't about more visions or more warnings. This was about obedience, about taking what I'd been shown and giving it to you without filter, without softening it, without worrying about who would mock or dismiss or attack. So here we are, the final message, the practical application, the battle plan for the 30 days between now and March 21st, when the testing begins for those born in March, and then June 21st for those born in June. September 22nd for those born in September, December 21st for those born in December. I've read through every single comment on the previous 3 videos, all 47,000 of them. I've seen the I choose to stand declarations. I've seen the testimonies of people already feeling the pressure, already sensing something shifting in their lives. I've also seen the skeptics, the mockers, the ones calling me a false prophet or a con artist or mentally ill. And I want to address that head on before we go any further. I'm 51 years old. I'm single. I don't have children. I don't have a church that pays me. I don't have a ministry organization with overhead and staff salaries. I'm an actor who was given the profound honor of portraying Jesus in The Chosen, and that experience wrecked me in the best possible way. It ruined me for casual faith, for surface-level Christianity, for playing it safe. And when Jesus met me in that desert oasis 3 nights in a row and showed me what's coming, I had a choice. Stay silent and comfortable, or speak up and face the consequences. I'm speaking up, not because I want attention, not because I'm trying to build a platform or sell something or manipulate anyone, but because I saw the faces in that pool. I saw the woman with the bills she couldn't pay. I saw the man with the terminal diagnosis. I saw the young man betrayed by his church. I saw the businessman stripped of everything. And I saw two timelines for each of them, one where they prepared and stood firm, and one where they didn't and fell apart. And I won't, stay silent and watch people walk into a storm unprepared when I was given the warning and the battle plan. So here it is, everything he told me, the 8 steps of preparation. And I'm begging you, if you were born in March, June, September, or December, take these next 30 days seriously. Because after March 21st, the window of preparation closes and the testing begins. Step 1. Settle the trust question. This is the foundation everything else is built on. Before the testing comes, before the storm hits, before everything falls apart, you need to answer this question and settle it in your heart. Do you trust God? Not, do you trust God to make your life comfortable? Not, do you trust God to give you what you want? But do you trust that He is good, that He is sovereign, that He loves you, and that He has a purpose in whatever He allows into your life, even when it's painful, even when it doesn't make sense, even when it feels like He's abandoned you? Because here's what Jesus showed me. The testing is designed to strip away everything you've been trusting in instead of Him. Your job, your health, your relationships, your savings account, your reputation, all of it can be taken in a moment. And when it is, when you're standing in the rubble of your life with nothing left, the question will be, is God enough? If you haven't settled that question before the testing comes, you won't be able to settle it in the middle of it. The storm is too loud, the pain is too intense, the fear is too overwhelming. So here's your assignment for the next 7 days. Spend 1 hour each day. I don't care when, but make it the same time every day so it becomes a habit. Sitting in silence with an open Bible and asking God this question: do I really trust you? Not the version of you I've created in my mind. Not the God who does what I want, but the real you, the God who allows suffering, who doesn't always answer prayers the way I want, who sometimes says no or wait or not yet. Do I trust you? And then listen. Journal what comes up. Be honest about your doubts, your fears, your anger, your questions. God can handle your honesty. What He can't work with is pretense. By the end of 7 days, you need to be able to say and mean it, yes, I trust you. Even if you take everything, even if you don't rescue me the way I want, even if I don't understand, I trust you. That's your foundation. Everything else is built on that. Step 2, go deep in the Word. Jesus said those palm trees at the oasis could withstand the storm because their roots went deep, 30, 40, 50 feet down to the water source that never runs dry. You need roots that deep in God's Word, not surface-level Bible reading, not a verse of the day on your phone, not a devotional that makes you feel good for 3 minutes. Deep roots, the kind that come from sustained, focused, intensive time in Scripture. Here's your assignment. For the next 30 days, you're going to read through the book of Job, the Psalms, and the book of James. These 3 books deal specifically with suffering, with testing, with refining, with maintaining faith when everything falls apart. Read 1 chapter from each book every day. That's 3 chapters total, maybe 30 minutes of reading. But don't just read. Study, underline, take notes, ask questions, look up cross-references, memorize verses that speak to you. And specifically, I want you to focus on these passages. Job 23:10. But He knows the way that I take. When He has tested me, I will come forth as gold. Psalm 46:1-3. God is our refuge and strength, an ever-present help in trouble. Therefore we will not fear, though the earth give way and the mountains fall into the heart of the sea, though its waters roar and foam and the mountains quake with their surging. James 1:1, 2-4. Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. Memorize these 3 passages. Write them on note cards, put them on your bathroom mirror, set them as your phone wallpaper, because when the testing comes, when you're in the middle of the storm, you need God's Word hidden in your heart so deeply that it comes up automatically like a reflex. Step 3. Establish a prayer rhythm. Jesus showed me that those who make it through the testing are the ones who maintain constant communication with Him. Not just crisis prayers, God help me, but a sustained, disciplined prayer life that keeps them anchored. Here's your assignment. Establish a 3 times daily prayer rhythm, morning, midday, and night. Daniel did this, David did this, Jesus did this, and you need to do this. Morning prayer, 15 minutes. Start your day by surrendering it to God. Tell Him you trust Him with whatever comes. Ask Him for strength, wisdom, and awareness of His presence. Pray for those who will face testing today. Midday prayer, 10 minutes. Stop whatever you're doing at noon and recalibrate. Thank God for His presence. Confess any anxiety or fear that's crept in. Ask Him to help you finish the day strong. Night prayer, 20 minutes. Review your day with God. Where did you see Him? Where did you miss Him? What are you grateful for? What are you worried about? Give it all to Him before you sleep. This isn't about legalism or earning God's favor. This is about building a communication channel that stays open even when the storm hits. Because when the testing comes, you won't have the emotional energy to establish new spiritual disciplines. You'll only be able to maintain what you've already built. Step 4. Fast from distractions. This one is going to be hard, but it's essential. Jesus told me that most believers are too distracted to hear His voice, too entertained to go deep, too busy to develop the spiritual sensitivity they'll need to navigate the testing. Here's your assignment. For the next 30 days, you're going on a media fast. No social media except for what's absolutely necessary for work. No streaming services, no mindless scrolling, no binge watching, no video games, no podcasts or audiobooks unless they're explicitly spiritual content. I can already hear the objections, but I need to relax. But that's how I unwind. But I'll miss out on what's happening. Exactly, that's the point. You've been using entertainment and distraction to numb yourself, to avoid silence, to fill the space where God wants to meet you. And in the next 30 days, you need to create space for Him to go deep in your heart, to reveal things you've been avoiding, to prepare you for what's coming. What do you do with all that time instead? You pray, you read scripture, you worship, you journal, you sit in silence and listen, you take walks and talk to God, you have real conversations with real people instead of digital interactions. This fast will be uncomfortable. You'll feel withdrawal symptoms. I'm not joking. But on the other side, you'll have a clarity and spiritual sensitivity you've never experienced before. Step 5. Get your house in order. Jesus isn't just a spiritual God. He created the physical world too. And He told me that part of preparation is addressing practical vulnerabilities that the enemy can exploit. Here's your assignment, broken down by category. Financial. Make a list of every debt you have, every credit card, every loan, every person you owe money to. Then make a plan to pay down as much as possible in the next 30 days. Cut every unnecessary expense. Sell things you don't need. Pick up extra work if you can. Build an emergency fund, even if it's just $500 or $1,000. The goal isn't to be debt-free in 30 days. That's unrealistic for most people. The goal is to reduce your vulnerability and create some margin. Relational. Make a list of broken relationships. People you need to forgive. People you need to ask forgiveness from. Conversations you've been avoiding. Then, one by one, address them. Send the email. Make the phone call. Have the hard conversation. Because when the testing comes, you can't afford to have relational wounds that the enemy can infect. Physical. Make an appointment with your doctor. Get a checkup. Address health issues you've been ignoring. Start exercising, even if it's just a 20-minute walk every day. Clean up your diet. Get more sleep. Your body is the temple of the Holy Spirit, and you need it functioning as well as possible for what's coming. Spiritual. Identify any obvious sin patterns in your life. Pornography, gossip, lying, greed. Whatever it is, confess it to God and to at least one other trusted believer. Get accountability. Make a plan to address it, because unconfessed sin is a foothold for the enemy, and you can't afford any footholds when the testing comes. This isn't about earning God's favor or making yourself worthy. This is about removing unnecessary vulnerabilities so that when the testing comes, the enemy has fewer access points. Step 6. Find your people. Jesus was clear. You cannot face this testing alone. You need a small group of believers who will commit to walking through this with you. Here's your assignment. Identify 3 to 5 people, no more than 5 because the group needs to stay small and intimate. Who you trust, who take their faith seriously, and who are willing to commit to the following for the next 12 months. Daily prayer for each other, even if it's just a quick text saying, "Prayed for you today." Weekly check-ins, a phone call, video chat, or in-person meeting where you're honest about how you're really doing. Immediate response in crisis. If someone in the group is in the middle of a test, the others drop everything to pray, encourage, and support. Brutal honesty. No pretense, no performance, no "I'm fine" when you're not fine. Confidentiality. What's shared in the group stays in the group. Reach out to these people in the next 7 days. Explain what you've learned. Share these videos with them. Ask if they're willing to commit. And if they say yes, schedule your first meeting before March 21st to establish the rhythm and expectations. This group will be your lifeline when the testing comes. They'll speak truth when you can't hear God's voice. They'll hold you up when you can't stand on your own. They'll remind you of who you are when the enemy is lying to you. Step 7. Establish a worship practice. Jesus told me that worship is warfare. When you're in the middle of the test, when everything is falling apart, when you can't see him or feel him or hear him, that's when you need to worship most. Because worship declares that he's still good, still sovereign, still trustworthy, regardless of circumstances. Here's your assignment. Create a worship playlist of 10-15 songs that declare God's goodness, faithfulness, and sovereignty. Not just songs that make you feel good, but songs that are theologically rich, that remind you of truth when your emotions are lying to you. Then, every single day for the next 30 days, spend at least 20 minutes worshiping. Sing out loud, raise your hands, dance if you want to. Don't just listen, participate. Engage your whole body, because worship isn't just a mental exercise. And here's the key. On the days when you don't feel like worshiping, when you're tired or discouraged or angry, those are the most important days to worship, because you're training yourself to worship based on truth, not feelings. And when the testing comes, your feelings will be screaming that God has abandoned you. But if you've trained yourself to worship based on truth, you'll be able to stand. Step 8. Prepare your testimony. This might seem premature, but Jesus was clear. Those who make it through the testing will have a testimony that shakes nations, so you need to start preparing it now. Here's your assignment. Get a journal, physical or digital, doesn't matter, and start documenting this journey. Write down what you're learning in these 30 days of preparation. Write down your fears, your doubts, your questions. Write down where you see God showing up. Write down the small victories and the hard moments. Then when the testing comes, and it will come, continue documenting. Write down what you're facing. Write down how you're responding. Write down where you see God in the middle of it. Write down the prayers that get answered and the ones that don't. Write down the moments you want to give up and the moments you experience breakthrough. Because on the other side of this testing, you're going to have a story, a testimony, and that testimony will give hope to others who are facing their own tests. It will be proof that God is faithful, that he keeps his promises, that he brings his children through the fire. Your testimony isn't just for you, it's for everyone who will come after you, everyone who will need to know that it's possible to stand, to endure, to come through the testing refined instead of destroyed. Those are the 8 steps. And I know what some of you are thinking. That's a lot. That's overwhelming. I don't know if I can do all of that. Let me be clear. This isn't optional. This isn't a suggestion. This is a battle plan for spiritual survival. And if you were born in March, June, September, or December, you have 30 days to implement this before the testing begins. Can you do all 8 steps perfectly? Probably not. None of us are perfect. But can you commit to doing your best, to taking this seriously, to prioritizing preparation over comfort and convenience? Yes, you can, and you must. Because here's what Jesus showed me in those visions. The difference between those who stand and those who fall isn't talent or intelligence or resources, it's preparation. It's whether they took the warning seriously and did the work before the storm hit. Let me tell you what happened when I went back to the oasis yesterday morning. I arrived at 2:33 a.m. just like the previous 3 nights. But Jesus wasn't there. The oasis was empty, silent, still, and for a moment I felt abandoned, confused, like maybe I'd imagined the whole thing. But then I sat down by the pool and I opened my Bible and I started reading Psalm 46. God is our refuge and strength, an ever-present help in trouble. Therefore we will not fear, though the earth give way and the mountains fall into the heart of the sea. And as I read, I felt his presence, not in front of me, but within me. And I heard, not audibly, but clearly, his voice. I'm not in front of you anymore because I'm preparing you to walk by faith, not by sight. You've seen me, you've heard me, you've been given everything you need. Now you need to trust me even when you can't see me. I sat there until sunrise, watching the sky transform from black to deep blue to purple to pink to gold. And I thought about those 7 palm trees, standing tall and strong after the storm. I thought about their roots going deep to the water source that never runs dry. And I made a commitment. I would do the 8 steps myself. I would model what I'm asking you to do, because I'm not exempt from testing just because I was given the warning. If anything, I'm a bigger target now, so I'm in this with you. I'm settling the trust question. I'm going deep in the Word. I'm establishing a prayer rhythm. I'm fasting from distractions. I'm getting my house in order. I'm gathering my people. I'm worshiping daily. I'm documenting my journey, and I'm asking you to join me. Here's the timeline. Today, March 6, 2026. You have 15 days to implement the 8 steps before the spring equinox. March 21st, 2026. The testing begins for those born in March. This is the spring equinox, the beginning of the first quarter of testing. June 21st, 2026. The testing begins for those born in June. This is the summer solstice, the beginning of the second quarter of testing. September 22nd, 2026. The testing begins for those born in September. This is the autumn equinox, the beginning of the third quarter of testing. December 21st, 2026. The testing begins for those born in December. This is the winter solstice, the beginning of the fourth quarter of testing. If you were born in March, you have 15 days. If you were born in June, you have 4 months, but don't waste them. If you were born in September, you have 7 months. If you were born in December, you have 10 months. But here's what Jesus made clear. The preparation needs to happen now, not next week, not next month, now, because the enemy is already moving, the attacks are already beginning, and every day you delay is a day you're more vulnerable. I want to speak directly to those of you who are skeptical, who think this is fear-mongering or manipulation or religious hysteria. I understand, I really do. If someone had told me a month ago that I'd be recording videos about supernatural encounters in the desert and warnings about testing coming for people born in specific months, I would have been skeptical too. But I'm asking you to consider this. What if it's true? What if I really did encounter Jesus in that desert oasis? What if the testing really is coming? What if you ignore this warning and then in 6 months you're in the middle of the worst crisis of your life, wishing you'd prepared? What's the cost of taking this seriously? 30 days of focused spiritual discipline, 30 days of going deeper with God, 30 days of getting your life in order. Even if I'm wrong, even if none of this happens, you'll still be better off for having done the work. But what's the cost of ignoring this? Potentially facing the greatest test of your life unprepared, potentially shipwrecking your faith, potentially becoming one of those cautionary tales instead of one of the testimonies of victory. I'm not asking you to believe me blindly. I'm asking you to take this to God yourself. Ask Him if this is real. Ask Him if you need to prepare, and then listen, really listen. For those of you who are taking this seriously, who are ready to do the work, I want to give you some practical next steps. In the next 24 hours, print out or write down the 8 steps. Schedule your daily prayer times in your calendar. Identify the 3 to 5 people you want in your support group. Start your media fast. Buy a journal for documenting your journey. In the next 7 days, complete step 1, settling the trust question. Reach out to your potential support group members. Make your list for step 5, financial, relational, physical, spiritual. Create your worship playlist. Begin your daily Bible reading plan, Job, Psalms, James, in the next 30 days. Complete all 8 steps. Establish the rhythms and habits that will sustain you through the testing. Have your first support group meeting. Memorize the 3 key passages, Job 23:10, Psalm 46:1-3, James 1:2-4. I want to read you some of the comments from people who are already experiencing the early stages of testing. I was born March 12th. I just found out yesterday that my company is doing layoffs and my department is being eliminated. This video found me at exactly the right time. Sarah M. June 8th here. My wife just told me she wants a divorce. We've been married 15 years. I don't understand what's happening, but I know I need to stand firm. Michael R. I'm a September baby, Sept 19th, and I've been feeling this heaviness for weeks, like something is coming. I couldn't explain it until I watched these videos. Now I understand. I'm preparing. Jennifer K. December 25th. Yes, I was born on Christmas, and I just got diagnosed with stage 2 breast cancer last week. I'm scared, but I'm choosing to trust God through this. Amanda L. These are real people, real tests, real pain, and they're just the beginning. Let me tell you what I believe is going to happen in the next 12 months. I believe thousands of people born in March, June, September, and December are going to face tests that will shake them to their core. Job loss, health crises, relationship breakdowns, financial collapse, betrayal, loss, grief, pain. I believe some of them will have prepared because they took this warning seriously, and those people will stand. They'll bend but not break. They'll go through the fire but not be consumed, and they'll emerge on the other side with a testimony that will impact generations. I believe some of them will not have prepared. either because they never saw this warning or because they dismissed it or because they procrastinated. And those people will struggle. Some will barely make it through, some won't make it through at all. And I believe that in 12 months, we'll be able to look back and see clearly the difference that preparation made. I don't want you to be in the second group. I don't want to see your comment in a year saying, I wish I'd listened, I wish I'd prepared, I wish I'd taken this seriously. Here's my challenge to you, and I'm calling it the 30-day preparation challenge. Starting today, commit to implementing all 8 steps over the next 30 days. Not perfectly. None of us will do this perfectly, but faithfully, consistently, seriously. And I want you to document your journey in the comments. Check in weekly. Tell us what you're learning. Share your struggles. Celebrate your victories. Encourage others who are on the same journey, because we're not doing this alone. We're doing this together, as a community, as the body of Christ, supporting each other, praying for each other, holding each other accountable. Type in the comments right now, I accept the 30-day preparation challenge, and then tell us which month you were born in and which of the 8 steps you're starting with today. I want to close by taking you back to the desert oasis one more time. When I sat there yesterday morning watching the sunrise, I noticed something I hadn't seen before. Around the base of each of the 7 palm trees, there were new shoots, baby palms just starting to grow, their roots already reaching down toward the water source. And I felt God say, this is what I'm doing. I'm raising up a new generation of believers who know how to stand in the storm, who have deep roots, who can't be shaken. And the testing is part of that process. It's not punishment, it's preparation, not for this life only, but for eternity. Those of you who make it through this testing, you're going to be those palm trees, strong, unshakable, providing shade and shelter for others who are struggling, pointing the way to the water source that never runs dry. But you have to choose it. You have to do the work. You have to prepare. The clock is ticking. For those born in March, you have 15 days until March 21st. The testing is coming whether you're ready or not. So the question is, will you be ready? I'm praying for you, every single one of you, by name, even though I don't know your names. God knows, and He's rooting for you. He's not hoping you'll fail. He's not setting you up for destruction. He's refining you, strengthening you, preparing you for the calling He's placed on your life. Trust Him, even when it's hard, even when it doesn't make sense, even when it feels like He's abandoned you. He hasn't, He won't, He never will. Stand firm, go deep, keep your eyes on Him, and I'll see you on the other side, with a testimony that will shake nations. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. Turn on notifications. Share this with everyone you know who was born in March, June, September, or December. This message could save their life, their faith, their eternal destiny. The testing is coming, but so is the refining. And you were born for this. When you pass through the waters, I will be with you. And when you pass through the rivers, they will not sweep over you. When you walk through the fire, you will not be burned. The flames will not set you ablaze. Isaiah 43:2. The 30-day preparation challenge begins now. March 21st, 2026 is coming. Will you be ready?